Get ready. It's time for the Idaho Podcast with your host, Danny Ventura. Welcome to the Idaho Podcast, where we feature the people who live, work, and play in Idaho. Today, I'm honored to have our guest, Trevor Chadwick, with us, who is the current residing mayor of the city of Star here in Idaho. And welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Just appreciate having you on.
Yeah.
I know you were first elected mayor in 2020, and you just got reelected to your second term with 85% of the vote, which is pretty impressive.
Pretty impressive.
That's awesome.
And with record voter turnout, too, for us.
That's even better.
It's even better.
Obviously a popular mayor and a popular guy.
Right.
So I know generations of your family have lived in Idaho, and you in fact, even graduated from Boise High School.
That's correct. Yep.
So what are some of your favorite things about Idaho?
You know, lots of cool things. Obviously, the people of Idaho, very friendly, right? It's always been, no matter where you go in Idaho, it's always had that hometown feel. I do love the mountains. I'm a big mountain guy. I spend a lot of my time hunting and fishing or jeeping. You know, I have a hyper green Jeep, and I go up into different areas and explore. And I've been here all my life, and it's amazing the things that you find even now exploring in different spots of Idaho, because we have a lot of unique opportunities and terrain out here, you know, from the volcanic rock that you have in eastern Idaho to the mountainous terrain, to the prairies, you know, all that kind of stuff, which is awesome.
So even for being here as long as you have, you still find new discoveries.
Still find new discoveries, yeah.
And that's one of the things that makes it so cool.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. What did you do before becoming the mayor of Star?
So I was on the city council also before I became the mayor of Star, but I was an estimator for commercial construction for about 15 years probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yep.
You have a welcome statement on Star's website, and I want to talk a little bit about that. And part of the welcome statement, you say, Star remains a beacon of goodness, friendliness, and community spirit that draws people from all over the U.S. in search of a place to call home.
Yep.
I love that statement. So what makes it all those things? What makes it the a beacon of goodness and
Well, the biggest thing I think is just maintaining that friendliness, right? And being accessible, I guess. Everybody, regardless of where you come from in this country and you're coming here to Star, people are coming here for the right reasons. And they want to be in a place that is friendly, they have the opportunities for the children to go out and play without any challenges. That doesn't have a lot of crime. You know, that's very positive in a lot of things. And I always tell people that we're gonna disagree, but it's the manner in which you disagree is how we're gonna get along, right? And honestly, we disagree on several occasions, but a lot of times we come back together at the end and make the Star a better place. You know, and we do live, and I do carry around this as that's a pocket constitution.
Love that.
Right. My dad gave this to me here. And this is the very thing that we live by here in the city of Star, right? Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is what we live by. And I fully believe that. And that's what a lot of people come here for in the city of Star. So.
Wow, really well said. And that I like that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as it relates to the beacon of goodness, friendliness, and community spirit in your statement.
And a lot of the times, you know, I'm probably a unique mayor where I'm very active, even on social media, but out in the public as well. And I end a lot of statements or a lot of posts with Star equals community, because I truly believe that, you know, as a city of Star, we create that community, and we could be good stewards of that and create this environment that is just positive and awesome to live with, right?
Mm-hmm. And we live here on the outskirts of Star, kind of near Eagle, but and I know there's some details there, but we feel a part of the Star community, and it really is an incredible hometown just Americana community.
It is very much so. People, what's really cool is you see a lot of American flags flying all over the place. We have one of the greatest celebrations during the summer, our hometown celebration on July 4th. Very patriotic, up there at the, we have the hometown parade, a good old fashioned style lunch, where we do, going even to the senior center, doing pie auctions to raise money for the senior center, have kids games. Our firefighters play with the kids with water, and we have concerts in the park. And then we have a fireworks show where I'm up there at the stage, and I will, I do a prayer and for everybody, with everybody. And we do, I read portions of the Declaration of Independence, which is very important. And then we have a humongous fireworks show. I think it's the best one around here.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, you would agree with that. Yeah. And it's getting bigger.
Yeah. And I love the reenactment that is done as well, because we miss so much in our society throughout other states. We just don't, in my opinion, we don't spend enough time on history.
Correct.
And history is so important. And we don't have to let it define us, but we certainly can't forget it, because we have to look back to be able to look forward.
Right.
And,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's so important. So you just completed your first term as mayor. Now you have served on the city council, prior to that.
Correct.
But in your first term, what are some of your accomplishments that you're most proud of?
That's a great question too, because there was so much chaos in that first term, right? Became mayor in January of 2020, and in March, of course, is when the COVID issues hit, right? And in Star, one of the things that I believe we're pretty successful at is really looking at the information and keeping our city open, right? And we let you be you do you. If you want to wear a mask, you wear a mask. If you don't, we don't care, right? That's up to you. But we kept our businesses open, kind of outside of some of the other orders that were out there. And we didn't lose any businesses at Star during that time frame, which is great. And the community rallied together. And because of some of that, I think is what's really created that hometown feel a little bit too, right? Because people began to believe in each other, and they supported each other, and they were doing everything they can to make sure that they could bring people up. If you had a challenge at your home, they were going to help you out, right? Things like that, which was awesome. And I really like that a lot. And I think being able to hold that whole small, I guess the beginning roots of what really made America great at the beginning, we held true to those values here in the city of Star. And I thought that's probably my greatest, I think the greatest accomplishment of being able to maintain that, because it wasn't the same all over. Right. In different states, even in parts of Idaho, it wasn't the same. So.
Oh, for sure. And for example, my wife and I are from California. There were cities that are still trying to rebuild. I mean, there's so many businesses that went out of business, and now they're almost like ghost towns is a little extreme, but I mean, it's really bad.
It's very bad. And you can see what's happening even today. We kept things open. We still did our public hearings, at City Hall, which allowed for the housing, even this development that you're in here to go, right, to get built.
We appreciate that.
Yeah. And doing that has allowed a lot of people to come in the start. There's people that are like, well, we're growing too fast. Well, I get that, but we don't control that. The things that we do as a city are bringing people in. They want to be part of that. Right. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
So that's a huge accomplishment. Yeah. So kudos to you for that. And as you look towards your second term that you just began in January, we were in February.
We're just 2 days into February. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's crazy that yours already going. Yeah. What are you looking most forward to, or what are some of your goals for the next 4 years?
So we're going to continue to work with the different partners that we deal with for infrastructure stuff like roads and schools, and really try to get those established for the city of Star. Growing wise, I mean, I'm just going to give you some numbers. It's pretty incredible if you're okay with that.
Of course.
Yeah. So back in 2020, when we had the census, we were about 11,117 people. We have an upcoming census, and I'm part of Compass. I'm the chairman this year of a regional planning thing for the Valley. Our number is going to be right around 20,000, 19,500 to 20,000. So in 4 years, we've grown by 8,000 to 9,000 people here. And so obviously there's some challenges with some of the infrastructure that's there. And when I talk about that, I'm talking about like roads and schools. That's our only challenges that we have. Our sewer and water has been very proactive over the years, and they just got completed with a $30 million upgrade. which allows us to have another 4,000 or 5,000 connections.
Wow.
And they've have not had I think it's about 6 years running now. They have not had a violation at all for when they do their cleaning and put it back in the river. They're one of the cleanest systems in the state.
That's really
so working with these agencies on trying to get some of the roads widened. We've done some stuff here in Star that is no one's done in the state of Idaho with this development and put in place back in April of 2020. I put in place what's called a proportionate share with the Idaho Transportation Department, because we have 3 state highways that come through our city.
Mm-hmm.
And we it was about an average of $1,000 per new house that was built or residential or apartment unit went into the fund to help us fund unfunded portions of the state highway that come through our city. We actually were able to collect the money, design a project, a mile segment, and get it built in 18 months.
Wow.
With that. And no one's ever done that in the state, right? And everybody was looking at us like, how did you do that? Well, it's thinking outside the box and being creative with what you have and then getting that done. And it's created a big spark of commerce on the other side of town. It's the road segment in front of Albertsons that we did that way. Yeah.
Which is a beautiful new center, by the way.
Yeah.
And I love the store.
Yeah.
The market,
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
So what, if you don't mind, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but what are some of those things that you said it requires thinking outside of the box? So can you elaborate a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. So even parts of, when you're growing so fast, we want to make certain that our public safety stays up there. We're very big believers in our police and our fire. We support the blue like no other here in the city, which is great. We have a proactive policing model. So and when I say proactive is we are actively going out because we have 3 state highways. State highways are your corridors for drugs coming in and out of your communities, right? And so we have we put together teams that go out and focus on taking fentanyl off the streets and looking for human trafficking. We have issues with the border, along Mexico, which is bringing some of these drugs and stuff into our communities all the way up here in Idaho, right? From there,
surprising,
but it's a long ways, and it's true. I mean, it's coming out like crazy, but they're doing a great job of hammering this crime and getting it off the streets. And so what we've done is, no one's done this either, is we put mitigation fees in place with developers. I went to the Building Contractors Association, say, listen, we can't continue to grow like this if we can't service our citizens or keep the service levels the same, right? Or better. Because the state limits us on how much we can grow our property taxes by an 8% maximum per year. Right. City of Star only levies $1.8 million towards property taxes on a $3 billion value in the city. Very little. Right. And so it costs, so 8% of that's about $140,000. It costs that much for one officer. Right. And so if you can't grow that fast, you have a hard time keeping up. So we put these mitigation fees in place. With the BCA that every house pays, a new house that comes in puts in $1,200 toward the fund for us to fund and finance officers, right? Because we want to be at 1-to-1 ratio or 1 to 1,000. I'm sorry, 1 officer to 1,000 residents in the city of Star, and we hit that finally this last fiscal year. We were able, because of these mitigation fees, we were able to put on 5 more officers, which just improves the protection of our city, right? Same thing with our fire department. They have a struggle with hiring firefighters because of that restriction the state's put on. It takes 9 firefighters to open a brand new station. You just can't hire 1 or 2. You have to hire 9.
Makes sense.
So about 1.6 million. So we have the same thing in place for them as well. And they're getting ready to utilize some of that for a brand new station they're going to build. Okay. So that's thinking outside the box and doing things a little bit differently and involving all of the stakeholders. Right. That are involved with that, right? You just can't make decisions that are going to impact everybody without actually talking to everybody and making certain that they understand what the situation is and let them know that we need your help to resolve this problem in order for you to continue. Right.
That is huge. And I love that you say that because that is so important. And I feel like so many politicians, and I'm not necessarily putting you in that realm, but you are the mayor, but I don't feel like they care that much about the people's opinions anymore. Right. And although it's the people they serve.
It is the people's. I always tell people, I'm only here because you want me here. Right. I'm not entitled to this position. You hire me to do a job and I'm going to do it as best I can. Right. And at the point that you don't want me, you're going to tell me that. Right. So I think that's important.
Well, no wonder you got 85% of the vote.
Right.
I love that spirit. That's
Thank you.
I'm just blessed to know you. That's awesome.
Thank you.
So we talked a little bit about your goals for these coming years, and you
Yeah.
talked about infrastructure and the roads, and I love that.
And it's a little bit more commercial.
Oh, okay.
So we want to get some more of the commercial and commerce and stuff in here. We need to be, we've been so, property taxes have been so reliant on the residential community here in Star forever, right? We became a city in 1997. So really, we're only 26 years old. So that's a unique thing too. There's a history behind Stars. This is our second time being a city.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So in December 10th, 1997, became a city. You know, about 500 people decided, yes, let's be a city, and then it grew from there. So think in that 26 years, we went from 500 to 20,000 people. It's a lot of people, right? Mm-hmm. But we want to get the services here, the jobs here, so people don't have to travel 7 miles in any direction or whatnot to do that. Places for people to eat, places for our kids to go work, you know, things like that. And it helps with our property taxes by relieving the property tax burden off of the residential and put it more on the commercial side. And we did a good job this last year because of what we have of dropping it from 93%. It's like 93.8% burden on the residential down to 88%. That's a huge drop in 1 year by bringing all that commercial business in. So that's one of my other goals. So sorry about that.
No, don't be sorry. I appreciate that. As a homeowner, I mean, I've never had my property tax go down.
Yeah, and this year you did.
And it just did, and I was shocked.
Right.
Another reason why I love Idaho.
Right.
But that's not the primary reason. But boy, it sure does make a nice cherry on top.
Makes a nice cherry on top. Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about your goals, and I appreciate those, and those are awesome. If you had a genie out of the bottle and you had one wish left for Star, for the city of Star, or for all of Idaho, what would that wish be?
Well, that's a great question. For all Star or all of Idaho?
Yeah, either the city of Star or all of Idaho, because you've been here a while. So
yeah, all my life. So it's boy, that's a great question. I have never thought about it that way. So if I had one wish left for the city of Star, I guess and we do it already, but I guess my wish is that we continue to be keep that small hometown feel and be neighborly with each other and stuff out here. You know, and I'm giving like 3 or 4 wishes together here, all wrapped up in one, right? And that we can continue to be fiscally responsible as a community, as a city, while providing all the services so people can live, right? And live and be who they want to be and enjoy their lives, right? Because it's just short life.
Boy, and how.
Yeah, and how, right?
Well, that's a great wish. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
For putting you on the spot.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. That's a great question. I'm going to have to think about that one.
Well, if it changes, let me know. But although that was a great answer.
That's a great answer.
That was a great answer. You've mentioned, you're working on more commercial, and I've noticed just over a year we've been here, there's been lots of new business.
Yep.
You mentioned the Albertson Center. There's a lot more stuff coming in, Mountain Mike's Pizza and so forth, the Jersey Mike's,
right.
and gas stations, and there's so many more. I don't want to keep listening because I don't want to leave anybody out. But so what do you think is drawing business and commerce to Star? What is it about Star specifically? Because I mean, I see it almost more there than I have seen it almost anywhere locally. I mean,
yeah,
Idaho's growing. Don't get me wrong, but I'm seeing like robust growth.
We have it's pretty good. Obviously, we have the population that can serve. I mean, granted, these organizations have their own demographics teams and stuff that will go out there and figure out if it's going to work for them. Mm-hmm. You know, when we talk to them, but they like our community. You know, and the cool thing is these businesses aren't just coming in to do business; they're coming in and contributing. So like they sponsor stuff with my Mayor's Youth Council. They're helping out with our Star Outreach, the food bank out here. You know, they're helping out with sponsoring our hometown celebrations. They want to be part of what we've created here in Star. And that's a lot of what's driving a lot of these guys, which is great. Even the bigger guys, right? It's incredible to see how supportive they have been for our community and how excited they are to be here in Star. You know, we get talked about a lot all over the state just because of what's been going on in Star and how we've been able to keep it together and keep a positive environment and atmosphere here.
Do you feel most of the commercial business owners and even some of the franchise, those type of folks, you think they come here and want to honor that small town feel?
I think they do. Okay. I think in the most part they do. I know I'm going to bring this up. There's always a lot of chatter about pizza, right? People are like, well, not another pizza place. Well, look at the stats. I've actually went and looked at the stats, right? Idaho has about 23.8 pizza places per 100,000 people.
Wow.
If you come from California, it's 18.6. So yeah, of course it's going to look like there's more pizza, but obviously people eat it. Right. So it's not for me. So this is the thing I say to people. It's not my job as a government to dictate to you on if you can open a business or not. It's the people's job to decide if they want to support that business. Right.
Great
and
point.
it's the owner's job to appeal to the citizens and get the people into their business. And it breeds healthy competition. Government should stay out of all that. We just provide the opportunity for people to be successful.
That's a wonderful philosophy.
Right.
I wish most people shared that.
Right.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of change. We talked about the commercial growth and most of the change. And again, you've been here your whole life, so you've seen a tremendous amount of change. You even said it. We almost doubled population just in the city of Star.
Yeah, in 4 years.
Would you which is crazy,
right?
Would you say that most of the change has been positive?
I think most of the change has been positive. I think for the most part, people are here for the right reasons. You get some that are not, and that's going to happen everywhere. Nothing's perfect, right? The growth, I understand when people say, I hate to see the fields go away, the farmers. Well, the farmers aren't losing out. The farmers are making pretty good money on their property. And we have a problem. We have a problem in our country right now with generational farming because it's not happening anymore. It's going more to the corporate side, right? And so that's a challenge when you have development and farming and ag, I guess, butting up against each other. You know, when a farmer can get $100,000 to $200,000 an acre for his land, he can set his family up with generational wealth pretty quick on that, right? And it's a private property right. You have a right to profit off your property, you know. And I get people's frustration, but for me, it's like open your checkbook up, buy it,
right?
You know, everybody has an opportunity to buy it. If I can buy it, I would buy it. I would love to buy it. If the city can buy some of that land and keep it open, I would love to do that. Right. But we don't have that kind of funds to do that, you know, and people want to still come here. But we can try to figure out for us as a city, you know, we've done some different things where others have not. We have downsized versus upsizing. Like when you look at our upzoning, I guess, downzoning and upzoning.
Okay.
Boise's upzoned, right? More density per acre, where we've downzoned in Star. Because of the rapid growth that we've seen, we've made some adjustments to say, okay, we can't handle the growth the way it's going right now. It's not good for everybody. So we're gonna reduce the densities available in our city so we can make it a little more. We're gonna be more spread out. People don't like that, but I think that works for our community, right? It may not work for other communities, but it works for our community,
right? Aside from the farming, which is real, and I appreciate you bringing that up, are this rapid growth and change that you've witnessed, do you have any other concerns besides the farming?
I will tell you the biggest concern, one of the biggest concerns that we're tackling right now that I have with the rapid growth is some of the mental health of our youth.
Okay.
Only reason I say that so many kids have been uprooted and up from places that they know, and they come into the unknown, and there's a lot of them, and they just don't know where their sense of belonging is, right? So we as a city have been putting a lot of programs and stuff together to try to get these kids together to interact with each other, right? So they can build that friendship cores and things like that. Because a lot of times, just like we saw in COVID, kids were isolated. We don't want to see them continue to be isolated, right? We want them to come together and create that long-term relationship so they can continue the vibrancy that we have in our community. Right. And that's a challenge. And I get concerned about that because you see just in the valley, and it's all over the country, but a spike in suicides and stuff like that with kids. So we're really starting to focus on that a lot as a city and actually as a valley, because we just had a meeting about this yesterday with some key players about how we can try to just tackle this without calling it mental health, but tackling it by just bringing kids in together and talking and getting them to enjoy themselves so they understand that they're not alone up here. We're here.
Right.
You know, and I even given my phone number out to kids that I see that I can see that they're struggling. I said, call me, you know, just call me, you know, and they're like, you're the mayor. I said, I don't care if I'm a citizen of my city that I care, right? Call me.
Wow.
You know? So
I'm so glad that you mentioned that that's something you're thinking forward on, and and groups are already meeting to discuss that. And
right,
because you're right, having I have 4 kids, but they're all adults, and I have grandkids now.
right.
And the grandkids I get concerned about, because when the kids do get isolated, they get isolated with devices,
With
not with
devices,
people. And that's
exactly.
usually the biggest problem, because the what they're being infiltrated with is not generally good.
It's not healthy.
It's not healthy.
Not at all.
Right.
No, and that's things that we continue to battle in the state. Even at the state house, you'll see at the legislative level right now, they're actually looking at different bills to try to limit the usability to get AI generated porn or whatever that shows up on their stuff, or the bullying that happens, on these different platforms. You see the state house is even tackling this issue. So it is an issue if we're all talking about the same kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, a while back, technology surpassed humanity, and I've been concerned ever since.
I've always said if we can get rid of the phone, we can be great.
Boy, and how.
Let's have these face-to-face conversations nowadays instead of this text messaging keyboard warrior thumb stuff that happens, right?
Boy, completely agree with that.
And that's my biggest thing is even on social media, because I'm on it too, right? And if I see somebody coming after me for whatever, I always invite, let's talk. Let's have a conversation. If after we have that conversation, you still believe the way you do, great, whatever. But I don't respect you if you don't have that conversation, right? And there's a lot of people I've talked to, and they understand. Oh, I didn't realize that. Yeah, let's talk. Let's not do this typing thing and hide behind that keyboard and that monitor.
Yeah, communication is
essential.
Yep. And I love that there's a book by Brene Brown. It's called Dare to Lead. I don't know if you've read the book, but she talks greatly about how communication and having the courage to speak truth in love is so important. Just to have a conversation. You can still at the end disagree, but part ways as friends and just agree to disagree on that.
Agree to disagree.
Right.
We're not going to agree on everything.
Right. Incredible. So I would love to hear personally, and I'm sure the audience would as well, what tips or suggestions would you give to folks who may be considering living in or working in Star, Idaho?
Just come in and realize, I guess the biggest thing for me is realize what you left. Don't try to bring what you left here. That's the biggest thing that turns off locals, right? We get that you have your own what you've seen a lot more than what we have had here, but we're trying to maintain what we got here to keep it friendly, right? And do some research, right? Here's the interesting thing about Star is Star used to be considered the armpit of Ada County. It was the lowest property values, back in the late 1990s, early 2000s. It was the people were like, why would you live in Star? Today, opposite. Wow. One of the higher property value, a lot more. It looks clean, looks new. The people are friendly. People want to get out here. I talk to people every day. I wish I can come to Star, right? and it's just that. Just come and enjoy your life and just do some research on is this where you want to be? Is this the kind of atmosphere you want to be in? Because it's a beautiful atmosphere.
And it really is.
Right. If you like chaos, Star's not the place.
Yeah, I love that.
Right.
I don't like chaos. So that's why I love it here.
That's why you love it here. Right.
It's hard to even imagine that Star, you called it
the armpit.
The armpit. That's hard to even imagine, for me to imagine.
Right. People don't realize that. And it's pretty interesting. And it really was. I mean, we've done as a city here in the last year and a half, we've really tried to restore or gather our history. And so I put a historical committee together, and you get, we took 15 so far of the oldest folks that live here and families that have been here forever to get the oral videoed history about Star. And they really talk about why it was the armpit. And why they consider it the armpit, because it used to stink, because we had hog farms here, we had chicken ranches here, we had cattle ranches, cattle feedlots here, and we had a great big mink farm here. And so when all the breezes flowed just right, it was rank here, right?
Yeah.
And then that's really where the armpit really came from. And the buildings weren't the greatest. They were old farmhouses and stuff that were not always kept up or whatnot. But that whole thing has changed. But it's a cool, unique history that we have. That's really important to who we are, because that's really where that hometown feel started. Really was with those farming families and the families that have been in Star for over 100 years.
That's cool to even learn.
Yeah,
It's funny, you know, hogs don't smell like bacon.
They don't smell like bacon.
If they did, everyone would have them.
Everybody would have them. Yeah. Yep.
Interesting. So your grandfather,
Yep.
Jack M. Murphy, and he served as Idaho's lieutenant governor from 1967 to 1975.
Yep.
In his final address to the Idaho legislature, part of his address, this was part of his quote, and if you don't mind, I'd like to read it.
Absolutely.
It says, "There can be no personal victory or triumph for those who serve here. There can be no individual defeat. No man or woman can rule here or for any prolonged period impose his or her will upon others. The only victor when we are wise is Idaho. The only victim, if we are unwise, is her people." That's pretty profound.
Profound.
And you include that quote in the signature line of every single email you send out.
I do.
And I was struck by it when we were corresponding. And then I then also read your message again on the website. So why is that quote so important to you? I think I know why, but I'd like to hear in your words. And also, sorry,
Yeah.
how would you like that quote to resonate with the community?
I think it's to me, that quote says a lot. It says a lot that our founding fathers basically created this country where the people are the country, not the government, right? And that quote basically is emphasizing and reinforcing that thought. And it's it gives me the chills even now that my grandfather, that was his last speech he gave when he left as lieutenant governor, to remind those that are coming in and the people there that you're only here because the people brought you here, and you're here to serve the people, not the people serving you. And I think I'm very, I want to make sure I emulate that, I guess, right, and be that way, because I think that's important for us to maintain this great community and lifestyle out here.
And it sounds very much like you do. And
Yeah.
I know you also close in your welcome that it's a privilege to be the mayor. And honestly, Trevor, it's been a privilege to have you on the show today.
Yeah, this is awesome.
I thank you so much for sharing your story and sharing so much about the city of Star with our listeners.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you. Thanks again for joining us today. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time on the Idaho Podcast. Take care.